A very warm welcome to journalist Jacob Tanswell from The Athletic. Always welcome round here, Jacob. Good to see you again. Spoke to you recently, but good to see you again. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, I always look forward to coming back to Vitality or Dean Court for whoever I cover. But it's good to come back a few weeks ago and bump into you.
It was very, very nice inside the Ted Mac tent. So that was interesting, and it was great to see you in person. Do hit the like button on this video then, just for Jacob and for me, Cherries Red Army. Big fixture this weekend at home against Aston Villa. Get stuck into that in a minute. Do subscribe to the channel and do get your thoughts in the comments. But before we get stuck into that Premier League fixture, match day 14, Jacob, which is Bournemouth taking on Aston Villa, I just want to touch on the Cherries, because you kindly came on a few weeks ago to talk about Andoni Iraola, and it's going to take time and be a little bit patient. Seems like what you were saying and what I was believing in is sort of coming to fruition now, and it's good to see.
It is good to see. I think I was always quite fearful of this run because the onus was on Iraola to get some points. I think Burnley was kind of a banker. I think Burnley are pretty terrible. They're very easy to play against. Bournemouth probably suits them stylistically. And I think, I've talked to a few people around Bournemouth after that game, and I think if Bournemouth had the type of confidence they probably got now on the back of the Sheffield United game, it probably would have been easy on the scoreline. It would have been as tight. But yeah, that was good. And then the Newcastle, I think everything just came together. Bournemouth played really well that day, but they really took advantage of Newcastle's injuries, suspensions, things like that. So everything kind of fell in their favour, and it's quite refreshing after the misfortune keep having with injuries and everything else that's going on. That actually, hopefully, the tables have started to turn, and yeah, it's really good to see, and they'll be absolutely fine. And I'm really pleased for the manager too.
And the reason you are here is because normally you're covering a lot for Aston Villa at the moment in the UK and in Europe, but you do also, where you can, support the Cherries fans with some sort of journalist pieces where we can get stuck into it, because we don't have a lot nowadays, Jacob. But you did talk recently about ambitions of Bill Foley to get the stadium underway. Just talk us through that. We'll try and put a link in the description to that document that you created. And where are we at with the stadium?
Yeah, so when the Athletic does pieces that include every club, I tend to keep my hands quite busy because I've got Villa, obviously the club I cover, but the previous two as well that I've got existing knowledge of Bournemouth, Southampton, and they asked me to find out what's the latest with the stadium, whether it's going to be redeveloped or build a new one. And so I went digging, and after a few weeks, I think Bournemouth are currently just assessing whether to build a new stadium or to redevelop a Vitality Stadium. I think there's real issues with the transport links, similar to Villa Park in a way. I've done a massive piece on that. If you are going to redevelop Vitality Stadium, Dean Court, you've got to have another road coming in and out, because it's absolute, murder at times coming out on match days. One road in, one road out, everything around it as well. So they've got to put that into the question as well. But they're currently not ruling out what saying at the Dean Court or build a new stadium, contrary to belief and contrary to what Bill Foley says. I think they're looking a bit more deeper in terms of ticket sales, the data, what size stadium, where's the best areas have it, what's the most profitable area, how to build it, all these little things that they're looking at before they really decide to double down on one route. So yeah, to answer your question, sure, everything's up in the air, but I think it's not as cut and dry as just to say they're going to build a new stadium.
Interesting. And we know that the training ground, as we've previously spoken about, is well on its way, and the club are dropping some montages when there's new photos to be shown, and that can be found on the website. So this weekend at Dean Court is a cracking fixture ahead of us, Jacob. I mean, both teams are going into this game with back-to-back wins, so both teams are looking for 3 in a row. Talk to us about Aston Villa then, aside thriving under Unai Emery in Europe and in the Premier League. Look very good. The squad looks balanced. He just looks like he knows what he's doing right now, and they're currently 4th in the league.
It's just such an efficient machine. It's weird because you look at Villa and you think of 4th, you think they must be playing unbelievable football, and at times they do, but they probably had 1 game, 2 games this season where you thought, well, they've been fantastic throughout the 90 minutes. They sometimes they play badly, but the way Emery is, he kind of like, you think, oh, this is part of the plan. Like, they sometimes blow teams away in the first half, go 2-0 up, then are pretty poor for the next 20, 30 minutes. But they just conserve an energy, just sitting back and then hit the other team on a break with Diaby or Watkins, 3-0, got job done. And then back to conserving energy levels again. They never seem to really look too ruffled. There's only probably against Spurs in the first half where you thought, things are going, a bit haywire. But then all of a sudden, Emery just gets in at half time, changes it again, they get back to control. It just feels like everything's so efficient and everything they do, it's just it's done with a purpose, even if they're playing badly. I don't think there's been a stand-up performance bar the 6-1 demolition of Brighton, but they just keep getting the job done. And the home form is imperious. 13 straight home wins in a row is incredible. They're breaking records, 40-year, 50-year records. But away it's been patchy. So to get that win at Spurs, I think it's done huge for their confidence and to really become this top 4, top 5 team that Emery aspires them to be.
Because there was a lot that happened in that game. Some posts were hit by Kulusevski. Some was offside a few times. I think I was travelling back from Sheffield United, so I was trying to listen to it. So Aston Villa didn't have it all their own way, but Ollie Watkins, when we previously spoke, I said he was in some great form and goes into this game and he's trying to make that Euro squad for England. And it was 2-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and they come into this fixture very confident.
They do. You got Ollie Watkins, who's got 30 goal contributions in 37 games under Emery since he's taken over. So he's just gone to a completely different level. I think only Haaland's scored more, contributed more in that time. But what you'll see with the Bournemouth game, I'm sure we'll come on to it. I wouldn't be surprised, as I said before the game against Spurs, I wouldn't be surprised if Solanke scores 3 offside goals that get a lengthy VAR check, because Villa have the best or the most regular offside trap in any European league, any team. Or they just simply stand on the halfway line or just step up and they catch teams offside. So there'll be a few times maybe Bournemouth fans will be cheering. They'll think, oh, we've just scored a goal, and then every single time I go back to VAR, and the marginals are going to probably cause a few issues inside the stadium. But yeah, Villa have just got this real set way of playing, conserve energy, and with Watkins up front, they're just so clinical as well. And Watkins, that's probably the biggest thing that's Emery's added to his game. He's always been seen as a good striker, but not a great one that can make meaningful impacts and meaningful numbers, where nowadays he's stacking them up.
Yeah, so as I said, the Cherries are going into this game off the back of back-to-back wins, like you've spoken about, against Newcastle and last week against Sheffield United. I mean, Jacob, we've had something like 21 shots on target in 2 Premier League games. So for 2 consecutive Premier League game weeks, we've actually had the highest shots on target. And it does feel like Andoni Iraola ball is starting to hit full flow. And I am going into this game confidence. And I do feel that there's just an opportunity to get another point on the board. I look at the game that Aston Villa played at the City Ground, and Nottingham Forest got a job done, and they're a bit hit and miss. So there are opportunities there for me.
There are, but if you see the way Forest play, you'd probably say Gary O'Neill type of Bournemouth would suit this game, because Forest just sat back and hit Villa on a counter. Where if you look at any team that's played against Villa this season, they want teams to come onto them. They literally just wait. The centre backs will wait on their ball and wait till you press, and then they'll play through you. And they've had so much success with that because they're trying to generate their own counter attacks in possession and to give Diaby and Watkins, who are rapid 2v2s at the back. So if Andoni's going to go high press, then actually it might play into Emery's hands. He probably wants that, but it's all about having that courage, and I expect Bournemouth to do that. So that's what's really exciting about this game, where compared to at the Forest ground, they sat back and you just had one long ball over the top, and they scored at key moments. So it's going to be a different game from a tactical point of view, but I think it's going to be a more exciting game this time.
Now, I know that obviously you'll be leading into this fixture, trying to find out what the squad looks like for Aston Villa, but do we have any early news regarding injuries or suspensions, and what type of formation are we expecting Unai Emery to set up with the key players that we should look out for?
I think one thing that's gone under the radar across the national press and amongst fans is that Villa have been missing their left side for the whole season. People don't understand how many injuries they've had. Tyrone Mings is out for the season, their number one centre back, their core leader. Alex Moreno, the left back, who's been outstanding, who's the first choice left back, and Jacob Ramsey's just coming back now. He's been out for the whole season, and he's arguably Villa's most creative player, one of their best players as well. So they've had a lot of injuries. Mings will be still out. Same will Emi Buendia, they're out for the season. But Moreno and Jacob Ramsey have been back on the bench, fortunately, at Spurs, and they're probably pushing to start, especially Jacob Ramsey. Zaniolo as well, who's, of course, Bournemouth almost thought they had in January, missed the game against Spurs, but he should be back as well. The way they play it's just so difficult to explain. They change depending on where the ball is on the pitch. So there'll be some times where they build in the back three. The centre midfielder Kamara might go into centre back. Matty Cash sometimes, who plays right back, might become a centre back. They play, if you look on paper, they play a 4-4-2, but it never is, because the two wingers are number 10s. Moussa Diaby, who's a winger, has been repackaged as his false 9. He's very, very narrow, and they rely on Luca Dean and another, whether that's Leon Bailey or Matty Cash, to provide the width. It's very, very fluid, rotational. And you saw at Spurs, they built up a certain way in the first half. They were getting pressed to death, didn't work. So Emery changed it and brought Tillemans on for DRB, added another midfielder on, and they built up a bit better. So they're so adaptable, so flexible. And, if you're looking at it from a different manager, you've got your work cut out to decide what they're going to start off with.
Yeah, it does sound very fluid, and that must be hard for any opposition manager to work out, because it sounds like Emery can just switch it up, and he's got so many options to do that. So that's really interesting. And for us, Jacob, I mean, it felt like that Andoni trusted what we did against Newcastle. We know they had a few injuries. We had some as well, but he trusted that. The only change against Sheffield United was the forced one for Max Aarons, and Adam Smith come in. 351 appearances now for Adam Smith, and he got an assist. But he was happy to keep Justin Kluivert in there. He got a goal, capitalised on the error from the goalkeeper. Philip Billing now has a real battle to get into this side. Sinistera looks threatening off the bench. Feels like he's settling down south. What are you expecting from this Bournemouth side then? Like, don't change a winning mentality in a winning team. I mean, Justin Kluivert, he's done nothing wrong. I expect him to start again. And I feel like there's fluidity in our team as well. Tavernier's come alive. I predicted he would come alive at Bramall Lane. When he gets running, just like last season, and he's in full flow, he's my favourite winger. I really feel like we've got that attacking intent now, and we can really hurt any football team.
Definitely. I know I said that the Forest and Bournemouth will set up differently, but what Forest have, which Bournemouth will probably have, is a real quick, direct front three who, as soon as Bournemouth win the ball back, will just go like the Red Arrows, and they'll try and exploit Villa on a turnover. I think Billing, if I was looking at it from a Villa point of view, I probably wouldn't want him to play, because what Billing's really good at is just running off the back of the opposition midfielders. I know he's not been in and out of the team recently for whatever reason, but he's very range and he tests you in behind and he gets that goal. I expect Andoni he likes to play forward quickly anyway, but given Villa's offside trap and the amount of space they leave him behind, which is frankly, way too it's ridiculous. I expect, real quick runs in behind, big threats, whether it's Semenyo, Kluivert, whoever, Atari even. I know he's not been, great form or whatever, but, anyone that's got pace, and can time their run, make sure you're not offside, it's going to cause an issue. And I expect Villa to dominate possession, but I do expect Bournemouth to probably have more chances, especially early on.
I mean, there will be a question mark over Lloyd Kelly. He came off at half-time. They said a tight hamstring, and he's been fantastic for us since he's come back into the side. We know he wants to play centre-back, but he's doing a really good job at left-back. Sabani's building a lovely partnership with Senesi. Senesi's the ball-playing centre-back. And I feel like there's a battle in the midfield to be had. Lewis Cook coming of age, proving everyone wrong, trying to cement that place before Tyler Adams is fit. And is there going to be a battle in midfield? I mean, Douglas Luiz is a handful. Is he available for Aston Villa?
Yeah, Villa, arguably got one of the most informed midfield trio at the moment. You got Douglas Luiz, who's going to go for huge money. Caicedo types of money. He's been outstanding this season, and if you've got him in your fantasy Premier League team, then he's got 7 goals, 6 assists. He does everything. You can't really class him as a defence midfielder or anything. He's the most complete midfielder, arguably, in the Premier League. You've got Kamara as well. Boubacar Kamara, very good in the French national team. And then you've got John McGinn, who I think, probably one of the most underrated players in the league. Captain, drives the team forward, gets a lot of goals as well. So it's going to be a real big battle. But because I said about the offside trap, everything that Villa do, you could throw a blanket over the players at times. There'll be no space in midfield sometimes. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be so quick, lots of turnovers, a bit like ping pong. And I always like watching Bournemouth, because that's how they should play. That's how I remember them playing under Eddie Howe, how they're playing now. But the way Villa play as well should just make it a really enthralling game.
Yeah, we shouldn't forget Ryan Christie, who absolutely compliments Lewis Kirk, wins the ball, keeps running. I've never known a footballer like it, Jacob. The guy just keeps running, Ryan Christie. I mean, for all his lack of numbers, he gives you so much more.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. And he's just such a great presser. I went to that Burnley game, And I was watching your videos, and people were saying, why does Christie play? But then you see how he presses and his body angles and to set the traps and for the next guy behind him to win the ball back. You can see why Andoni's such a huge fan of him. And he doesn't get the numbers, but a lot of players who are hardworking pressing number 10s don't get the numbers. I just think with him, you probably just need to make the exception. Yeah, he's not going to thread it past when you're facing a low block or facing a team that's sitting deep. But what he will do is he will suit your manager's system down to a T. And yeah, I think his 3-year contract he's now been given, it's fully vindicated.
Absolutely. So Aston Villa then going into this game, well, actually for the season, Jacob, I mean, where is the height for them? Because have they got a game on Thursday in Europe? I mean, how's that going to affect Sunday as well? Because this is a fixture on a Sunday. Yeah, where's the heights and how can that the lack of time in between can that play a part in this game?
That's what's remarkable. You always think that Thursday, Sunday schedule is going to take out the team at some point, but really, as I said, if because they're so conservative and so efficient in managing their energy levels, they just seem to get the job done every time. They are used to Sunday kickoffs. Thursday will be a huge game. It's a huge game in their group. Legia beat them at their place. Those two are the only ones that could realistically qualify as top in their group. So Villa are going to put all their eggs into that basket, going to be very strong. And it could be a really difficult game. They've seen already at Villa Park, it takes ages to sometimes break down these European teams. So full focus will be on that. But what Emery does, and he's got about 12 analysts, they analyse one game ahead. So while 6 of them will be analysing Legia, 6 already are going on to Bournemouth. So it means the short turnaround doesn't really impact them as much because they're just so used to prepping the next game. So yeah, ordinarily I'd say Bournemouth will have the advantage, but Villa love playing more games. I spoke to Matty Cash and he said, if we have a week between games, I feel a little bit rusty. I want 2 or 3, I want 2 or 3 days between each game because I get a rhythm, and Villa are currently in that rhythm, so it shouldn't change much.
Oh, interesting fixture. Right, Jacob. So the whistle's going to go at Dean Court. Hopefully the Bournemouth fans are going to be in good voice. I'm sure Villa will have a good following as well. Give us a prediction. How is it going to play out? What's score prediction?
I think Bournemouth will get something out of it. I just think they're going to score. Villa can't keep a clean sheet at the moment, which is a bit weird considering how well they're doing. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Oh, do you know what? I'll take a point, Jacob. I mean, back-to-back wins. We're playing really well. Again, if we can be really impressive on the ball and we can be really smart off the ball, I feel like there is something in this game. And if we can go 3 unbeaten in a row, that would be great. 3 wins out of 4. So we're in some really good form. And I'm really looking forward to it. Jacob, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. Wish you all the best for the rest of the season. We'll hopefully catch up for the reverse. But yeah, just remind everyone who should know where they can catch you and sort of the content you're covering.
Yeah, so I'm still on my Twitter, same username at J_Tanswell, and yeah, you'll find me on The Athletic covering Aston Villa, as well as dipping my toes into Bournemouth and Southampton from time to time.
Absolutely love it. At the game Sunday?
I will be, yeah, won't miss it for the world. And what do you know what? When I saw the fixtures come out, that was the first one I looked up, and it's perfect. I can go home the day before and then just have a nice little half an hour drive up.
Absolutely love it. Well, get your score predictions in the comments. Do hit the like button. Do subscribe. It's going to be a cracking game at Dean Court. 2 teams, both in form. One of them looking for 3 in a row. We'll take a draw.
Hello, Cherries fans. Welcome back to another edition another show on Cherries Red Army. We're doing an opposition preview today. We've got Luke from the Up the Villa podcast. Thank you very much for joining us on this preview, Luke.
Yeah, it's great to be on, mate. Thank you.
I've just recorded the Bournemouth preview on his channel, so links to the Up the Villa podcast will be in the description below. Please check that out and check his channel out for more Villa content. But today, we're going to be focusing on Villa and our game against them this Sunday. So, Luke, I suppose the first thing to start would be, how do you feel your season's gone so far? It didn't start brilliantly. It was not the greatest result in the first game of the season, but you have certainly kicked on from there.
Yeah, it's been a great season so far. It's been. I'm 34, so it's possibly been the best Premier League season so far for me in my years of supporting Villa. But yeah, it's been great. We had a tough start against Newcastle. I was there at St James's. You know, you don't want to get thumped on the first day, do you? It's a lot. I mean, it's not as far from, you know, Newcastle to Birmingham as it is to Bournemouth, but, you know, it's a long drive home, so that wasn't great. But, you know, Emery's sort of kind of transformed us from last season. He's implemented a different style, so, you know, we've been adapting to that, and I think it just took a bit of time. And, you know, the Liverpool defeat wasn't great either, but we've been fantastic at home, 13 Premier League wins in a row at home, going from last season as well. And then the away form has been okay. And yeah, sitting fourth, doing well, going well in Europe as well. So it's been a good start to the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to be fair, with Emery, it's not just this season that you've been doing so well. If you look at the 2023 calendar as a whole, you are third or joint second with Arsenal, right up there with your cities of this world. I mean, Emery's not been here for really very long. I suppose in the greater scheme of what it is like to be a Premier League manager, he's one of the elder statements after only a couple of years. But what is it like being? What has it been like being a Villa fan when Emery comes in? Because, you know, Steven Gerrard wasn't exactly a success at Aston Villa. He spent quite a bit on players in that summer, and obviously it was the start of last season. He came to Bournemouth on the first day of the season, but since then, you know, Emery has seemingly completely changed the club. Looking from the outside in. Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, to say he's changed the club, I mean, that's like an understatement, really. It's like it's been amazing. But I think when people look at Villa from afar, they look at, okay, they're sitting fourth, they're playing good football, that's okay. It's a blip. They'll drop off. They won't be able to continue it. But if you actually like look at what's been bubbling away under the surface at Villa, we've brought in Monchi, the sporting director guru from Seville. You know, he's now heading up our transfers, and we've really built the whole club around Unai Emery. We've gave him the keys to Aston Villa to succeed, and I think that's where it kind of failed at Arsenal and PSG. He needs control. He needs to be the main man, and all of Emery's people are now in at Villa. You know, Monchi's come in, so we're going to start to see the best out of the recruitment side of things in the next couple of transfer windows. And we're just backing him, and the style of play has been fantastic. We're playing possession-based football, which is, you know, not easy to play in the Premier League because there's so many good teams, but we're starting to control games, whereas before, you know, like I've said in my lifetime watching Villa, it's been very counter-attacking football. We've never really wanted to sort of play out from the back, and that's been amazing to see. But also the sense now of what we're starting to do is at times when we're not playing great, we're winning matches, and I think that's the sign of a good team as well. You don't want to be doing it every week, but, you know, sometimes like against Spurs, we weren't great first half. We got it together second half and we won the game 2-1. And I think those are the type of things that are sort of going to go in our favour as well. And, you know, even what's recently came out this week is that V Sports have created like this sort of like entity of football clubs that we've sort of been a part of, and we've just signed Real Union, who are owned by Unai Emery's brother. So, you know, if that doesn't say sort of like he's here for the long term, then I don't know what it does really. But yeah, it's just been amazing, the football and just the actual transformation really. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, can't imagine what it's like to be playing in Europe, to be honest, the way the things have gone for you recently. And Bournemouth are obviously hoping that they'll get there one day with their new owners as well. But yeah, the European journey, how has it been so far for you? Obviously, it's quite an important game that's coming up on Thursday, which I'd imagine this preview will go out before you play your match. Winner takes top spot in the group, but just generally, obviously, a European experience for the first time in however many years. What has that journey been like for you? Have you been able to get to any of the games?
Yeah. So I've been to all the home games. Again, like the Premier League, didn't start great. Lost the first game 3-2 away at Legia Warsaw, which is just, I mean, it's just a disaster show. But you know, we've adapted and we've gone again and we've won every game since. But even like we played this Zrinjski team, who I mean, they are a professional team, but they just like defended for their lives at Villa Park, and it took a John McGinn goal in like injury time to win it. And it's been a bit of a struggle, Europe, watching it at times, apart from Alkmaar. But it's not been plain sailing. But it's been great to go and watch European football. It sort of hits a bit differently. The fans are a bit different. The noise, the atmosphere. The meaning of it just feels a bit, because I think sometimes, when you're in the Premier League, it's relentless, isn't it? I mean, our game at the weekend, we're fourth, playing really well. That's a difficult game, and they're just difficult game after difficult game. But Europe you can kind of forget about it for a bit, and it's kind of quite nice. So I think that aspect of it's pretty good as well. And like you say, if we win on Thursday, I think we've got to win by 2 goals. We'll top the group with a game to go. So, I've been loving it, to be fair. I think, for any fan, for your team in Europe, it's what you want to watch. You want to watch your teams. Okay, we're not sort of in the Champions League, but you want to watch your team playing against European opposition. So, yeah, it's been great.
And given that you have Unai Emery in charge, and Conference League winners last season were the English team that entered in West Ham, do you think you can go on to win it? I mean, it's early days; it's still the group stages. But I mean, if you were to pick a manager to take you in to win the second or third tier of European competition, you'd pick Unai Emery, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, this is the one thing that kind of would divide the Villa fan base a little bit, because you've got fans that say they want to win a trophy, they want cups, they want trophies, and then I'm kind of in a bit of a different camp of like, I want us to sort of qualify for Europe again and sort of make sure we establish ourselves as like a European football team in the Premier League. So, I'd love us to win it, but I think for me, the priority is the Premier League and doing the best we can in that. And I think Emery, in the preview for this game against Legia Warsaw, he sort of said that, the Premier League's the priority. If we can keep going in it, then fine. But, I think you'd look at it and think, yeah, we could win it. But, there's so many different sort of permutations that can happen in these European games. So I think it's just get out the group, forget about it until sort of February, and then just focus on the league and see where we are, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfectly legitimate way to go about it, without a doubt. So, I'm sure many Bournemouth fans will be at least somewhat familiar with Villa's players. Obviously, we played twice last season. We played in the season we went down as well. Because you survived on that one. What Bournemouth fans might be less familiar with is some of the newer signings. Now, you brought in Pau Torres, which is a name that a lot of Bournemouth fans might well be familiar with from Villarreal. Tielemans, obviously, on a free. Zaniolo was a player that we were linked with for a while, but we were too small for him a while until he changed his mind and went to. But in the end, we forced him out to Galatasaray. But I think the big one for me was Diaby. Overall, how do you feel as though your transfer work, how your transfers went over the summer, and what have you thought of your new players?
Yeah, really well. I think how Emery works and how Monchi works, what I was talking about earlier, is Monchi finds the targets and does all of the scouting, and then Emery sort of picks the certain profile and the positions that he wants, and then they go to Monchi's list, and then that's how they get players. Monchi only came in the summer, but how Emery works is he signs specific players to suit his exact system, and I think Pau Torres was one that really suits how we play. Pau Torres is one of the big players for Aston Villa. The way we try and control games, possession-based football team. You'll see him pinging balls into central midfield out to Luca Dean or up to Diaby. So he's been an integral player for the way that he plays with the ball. So I think he's been probably one of our standout signings. Diaby has been good, little bit inconsistent at the minute. But yeah, you look at his touch and the way he works, and he just looks like a real good player. And then Tielemans, it took him a bit of while to adapt to Emery's system, but we're now starting to see the best out of Yuri Tielemans. So they've all worked really well, to be fair, and I think that's what you'd expect from signing that Unai signs. He won't sign a bad player, I don't think. So, they've all come in and done a really good job.
So how do you see this game happening between the two of us? Now, Bournemouth like to be quite aggressive in their press, and they play the odd long ball, but they're comfortable in possession. Same Villa are obviously a very possession-based team. How do you see this game going?
We've been okay away from home. The media have said we've had a big problem away from. We haven't. We've got 10 points now, which is the same amount of points away that Liverpool have got. So we're not that bad. But what we're all about is controlling the game from the first minute. So it's all about Aston Villa playing their way and just controlling a 90-minute performance. Now, if we take the lead, then the game plan is there for Aston Villa. You guys have to come on to us. We can just chill on the ball and just pop it round. Where we had a problem against Forest is that when we go 1-0 down early and you don't have to engage with us because you've got the lead, and then we have all of the ball and there might be a bit of a low block and we struggle to break you down, that's where we've been having a bit of a problem. But I think we're going to look to sort of just keep the ball, and just try and boss the game, basically. You kind of saying that, you press really highly off. I think that might kind of suit Villa a little bit because you're going to come at us. And I think when teams do come at us, that's when we sort of, we're able to have a kind of a game plan for that game. And they generally go quite well. It's when teams sort of either score early or sit with a bit of a low block and we have to break them down and then you might hit us on the counter. That's where teams sort of do a little bit of damage against Villa. So, I think that's how we'll try and adapt the game, basically. But, I think you've got some really good players. You're in fine form. I think Semenyo for you would possibly hurt Villa a little bit. I think him sort of drifting inside a little bit. He's not an out-and-out winger. He can sort of like an inside forward that can go inside a little bit. I think him drifting a bit might cause some problems for Villa. But yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting game. I think both managers, want to play good football. They both want to win. You're in fine form. So, why would Bournemouth be sort of worried, really? Because you've won your last couple of games. So I think it's going to make for a really good game.
Yeah, good stuff. I think so as well. And you're right. It's we don't sit back and defend like Nottingham Forest do. So it should be quite an entertaining game for the neutral, regardless. Before we sort of come to the end and ask about your prediction, from the outside in, how do you feel as though Bournemouth have done this season? What have you made of Bournemouth under their new manager this season?
Well, in my predictions, I said to you on our channel that I predicted you to finish 10th, and I just thought you've got a real good coach there. Your recruitment's been good. I mean, Tyler Adams hasn't even played for you, has he? And he was linked with Villa, and I felt like he would be quite good, at Villa. You've got some really tricky wingers like Sinisterra. He's tricky on his day. So you've got some really exciting attacking players. You've got that lad from Bristol City as well. Did you sign in the
Alex
summer?
Scott? Yeah, he got injured, unfortunately, but he has been great when he's played.
I mean, he's really exciting. He's got such a high ceiling. So you've got some youth. You've got some exciting players. I worry about your defence a little bit. I think, your defence could do with a bit like Leeds, really. When Leeds just kept signing like attacker, and then forget about the defenders, and then that's why they go down. So I'd probably look at your defence and think, you probably could do with something a bit better in there. But, I really enjoy your manager. Like I say, I think you're exciting. I've been looking at your results and thinking, it took a while to sort of get to this stage, hasn't it now? I feel like your season has now started. And then you look at the sort of like the teams at the bottom anyway, and you've got like Luton, Sheffield United. So you should be like well clear of that sort of little bunch at the bottom. So, I think it's good signs, really. I think you've got new owners as well, haven't you? So I think that's sort of exciting as well. And, I think when you get new owners and a new vision, and, I kind of liked the sort of like not keeping the old manager and Gary O'Neill and going for this approach, because I think it's showing a bit of ambition really, and I think it's sort of not even though he might be doing well at Wolves or whatever, and he may go on to have a really good season. I feel like this fits you a little bit better. So yeah, I think I've only got good things to say really.
Yeah, thanks. And heck, Chelsea are 10th at the moment. We're only 4 points behind them. So it wouldn't take us a lot to hit the top half of the table as things are going right now. But I suppose final thoughts about this fixture. You mentioned how you think it'll go in terms of the pattern of play. But the big question is, what do you think the score will be?
I think we'll win. I think it'll be a tight 2-1 if I had to predict, a score line. Our next 2 games at home are Man City and Arsenal. So, it's no disrespect, but this feels like a game where I would like us to get something so that those 2 are a little bit we can just be have a bit of breathing space to wriggle room where we are in the league, really. So, like you said on ours, I think you'll score, and I think it'll be a 2-1. That would be what I'd go with.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But thank you very much for joining us on this preview, Luke.
Cheers. It's been great chatting to you.
Lovely. And as I mentioned, description will be down below for his channel. But thank you again, Luke, for joining us.